Jamie never knew his stepfather Richard was quietly paying for a life insurance policy, until Richard passed away, revealing Jamie was the sole beneficiary. The shock changed everything. With the unexpected inheritance, Jamie turned his life around and honored Richard's secret love in the most incredible way. This is a story about hidden sacrifices, family surprises, and the power of love you never saw coming. The small town of Willow Creek always saw Richard as just another quiet man in the shadows. He wasn't the type to attend barbecues or cheer at Little League games. No, Richard kept to himself, mostly at the auto repair shop he owned, or at home with his wife Karen and her teenage son, Jamie. Jamie never called him Dad. Just Richard. Even after 12 years of living under the same roof, their conversations rarely went beyond dinner table nods or grunts. Richard didn't complain. He never pushed Jamie. Instead, he showed love in silent ways, fixing Jamie's bike before school, slipping $50 into his hoodie before a school trip, and driving behind the school bus during storms just in case it broke down. Then one day, Richard collapsed at the garage. Heart attack. He was gone before the paramedics could even arrive. Jamie, now 22, stood at the funeral trying to feel something, anything. But all he could think of was how little he really knew the man who helped raise him. The man who never asked for anything. When the lawyer called a week later, Karen and Jamie sat across from him expecting a will that would divide maybe a savings account or the garage. But then the lawyer said, Mr. Richard Thompson had a life insurance policy worth $850,000. And there's only one listed beneficiary. Karen looked stunned. Jamie's heart pounded. Wait, he had a policy? The lawyer adjusted his glasses, then looked at Jamie. Yes. He's been paying the premium for 19 years. And the beneficiary isn't who you think. Jamie's stomach turned. Who is it? He whispered. The lawyer smiled faintly. That is why you're here. The room fell eerily silent after the lawyer's last words. Karen leaned forward, her voice cracking. Wait, what do you mean it's not who we think? Who else could it be? The lawyer opened a thick folder, pulling out a long white envelope with no writing on the front. No name, no stamp, just sealed shut with a crisp fold. I received this the day Richard passed. He left strict instructions to hand it over only once both of you were in the room, he said. Jamie stared at the envelope like it might explode. His hands were clammy. Karen looked at him, uncertain. She didn't recognize the man she had buried a week ago. The lawyer pushed the envelope across the desk toward Jamie. It's addressed to you, he said softly. Jamie hesitated, then picked it up. The weight of it felt heavy, as if it carried not just paper but years of silence, love, and secrets. He broke the seal and pulled out a handwritten letter. The first line hit him like a brick. Dear Jamie, if you're reading this, then I'm gone. But there are things you deserve to know, things I never had the courage to tell you while I was alive. His hands trembled. Karen leaned in, shocked. The lawyer sat back quietly, giving them space. Jamie continued to read. I've been paying that policy since you were just a boy. Not for your mother, not for me, but for you. Because whether you ever called me Dad or not, you were my son. Jamie froze. His chest tightened. He looked at Karen, stunned. The lawyer interrupted gently. Jamie, the $850,000 policy. It's all in your name. You're the sole beneficiary. Jamie's voice broke into a whisper. He did all that for me? Karen's jaw clenched so tightly it looked like it might shatter. What do you mean it's his? She snapped at the lawyer. Richard told me he had a policy. I just assumed, we assumed, it was for us. For me. Jamie sat frozen, the letter still in his hand. He wasn't sure if he should cry or smile. His stepfather, quiet, serious, never demanding, had loved him enough to make such a sacrifice. And never once had he mentioned it. The lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Richard named Jamie as sole beneficiary over 12 years ago. He updated the policy annually. There's even a note that says, my son will need it more than anyone. He just doesn't know it yet. Karen stood up, pacing the room. This has to be a mistake. A mistake. I was his wife. For 15 years. He never told me. Ma, Jamie said quietly, did he ever treat me any less than his own? Karen turned sharply, eyes glossy. No, but that's not the point. I was there when he got sick. I cleaned up after him. I stood by him. And now you're telling me everything he left behind goes to you? The lawyer remained calm. The policy is ironclad. Jamie is the beneficiary. There is no legal ground to challenge it. Karen's hands curled into fists, her lips trembling. He was supposed to take care of us. Jamie looked up. He did. You just didn't know what that looked like. Karen stared at him, confused and hurt. And for the first time in years, Jamie felt something unfamiliar bloom in his chest. Validation. Like maybe, just maybe, he had mattered all along. But he had no idea, the real shock hadn't even arrived yet. The lawyer flipped through the thick stack of papers on the desk. Then pulled out one more document, a small, folded letter marked with Jamie's name in Richard's unmistakable handwriting. Before we go further, the lawyer said, there's one more thing I need to share with you both. Jamie's heart pounded. Karen leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The lawyer unfolded the letter carefully and began to read aloud. Jamie, if you're reading this, then I'm no longer here. I want you to know why I kept the insurance policy a secret. Your mother didn't need to worry about it, and I wanted to make sure you had a chance to stand on your own feet without any strings attached. But this isn't just a payout. There's a condition. You must use this money to pursue the life I always hoped for you: education, a home, a future free from the struggles we faced. Karen gasped softly, and Jamie's eyes widened. A condition? The lawyer continued. Richard specified the money is to be released only after you enroll in college or a trade program. It's a final gift, but one with a purpose. Jamie felt a mix of emotions: gratitude, confusion, and pressure. His stepfather's quiet love had been guiding him all along, but now there was a challenge too. Karen's voice softened. I never knew he thought like this. He always wanted what was best for you, even if it meant hiding it. Jamie nodded slowly, thinking about the years of struggle, the feeling of being invisible. Maybe now things could change. The lawyer smiled gently. This kind of foresight is rare. You've been given a chance to build a new future. What you do next is up to you. Jamie swallowed hard and looked at Karen. I think I'm ready. Karen smiled through her tears. I'm proud of you, Jamie. And with that, a new chapter in Jamie's life was about to begin. One shaped by love, secrets, and hope. Jamie sat in the quiet library, the letter from his stepfather folded carefully in his pocket. The weight of Richard's gift pressed on him, but it wasn't just the money. It was the hope, the faith, and the expectation. For years, Jamie had felt invisible, overlooked, and forgotten. Now, with this unexpected inheritance, his life had taken a turn he never imagined. He glanced at the college brochures spread across the table. There were options he hadn't dared to consider before: programs in engineering, business, even art. Richard's words echoed in his mind. Use this to build a future, free from the struggles we faced. But doubts crept in. Could he really do it? Was he prepared for this responsibility? Jamie had worked part-time jobs, helped around the house, and tried to stay out of trouble, but school? College seemed like a whole different world. Karen walked in quietly, holding 2 cups of coffee. You're thinking too hard again, she said softly, sitting beside him. You've always been stronger than you think, Jamie. Her belief in him stirred something deep inside. For the first time, he felt supported, not just by his stepfather's gift but by the family around him. Maybe this wasn't just about money, it was about second chances. That evening Jamie called his best friend. Marcus, I've got something to tell you, he said hesitantly. I'm thinking about college. Marcus's voice lit up. Dude, that's awesome. I'm here to help. Whatever you need. Jamie smiled, feeling a spark of excitement for the first time in a long while. Richard's secret had unlocked not just a bank account but a future he could finally believe in. Karen watched Jamie that night and whispered to herself, thank you, Richard, for giving him hope. And with that hope burning bright, Jamie began to rewrite the story of his life, chapter by chapter. The morning sun filtered through Jamie's bedroom window, casting a warm glow over the stack of college applications on his desk. For the first time, the papers didn't seem intimidating, they looked like doors waiting to be opened. The insurance money had not only relieved financial worries but ignited a determination Jamie hadn't felt before. He sat down and began filling out forms, carefully answering questions about his goals and dreams. Each word felt like a promise to himself, a promise to rise above the challenges, to honor Richard's faith, and to build a life worth living. Karen entered with a bowl of cereal, watching him quietly. You know, she said with a small smile, this isn't just about school. It's about who you want to be. Jamie nodded, grateful for her support. I'm scared, but excited. It feels like I'm finally taking control. At school, news of Jamie's newfound opportunity spread quickly. Some classmates who had once dismissed him began looking at him differently. Jamie noticed the subtle shifts, the respect in their eyes, the nods in the hallway. He felt the weight of expectations growing but also the thrill of possibility. That afternoon, Jamie met with his guidance counselor, Mrs. Patel, who was impressed by his renewed focus. "You're on the right track, Jamie," she said. "This could be the start of something great." For the first time, Jamie believed her. The insurance policy, the secret beneficiary, the years of unseen sacrifices, it all led to this moment. A moment where he wasn't just surviving but planning to thrive. As he left school, Jamie looked up at the sky and whispered, "Thank you, Richard. I won't let you down with every step forward." Jamie was learning that sometimes the biggest gifts are the ones hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to change a life forever. Jamie's curiosity about the insurance policy grew stronger each day. He wanted to understand more about Richard's decision to name him as the beneficiary. Why had Richard kept this a secret for so long? And why had no one else in the family known? One afternoon, Jamie asked Karen to help him gather more information. They visited the insurance company together. The agent, Mrs. Lawson, was kind but firm about privacy rules. Still, she agreed to show Jamie the policy details since he was the beneficiary. Sitting across from Jamie, Mrs. Lawson pulled out the original contract. "Your stepfather took out this policy over a decade ago. It wasn't just a standard life insurance plan, there were special provisions," she explained. Jamie's eyes widened as he read the fine print. Richard had set up the policy not only to provide financial support but also to cover tuition costs for college, medical emergencies, and even a small business loan to help Jamie get started someday. "It was a plan for your future," Mrs. Lawson said softly. "Richard wanted to make sure you had every opportunity, no matter what happened." Jamie felt a surge of emotions, gratitude, surprise, and a bittersweet understanding of the man who had quietly believed in him all those years. On the way home, Jamie shared the news with Karen. "He planned all this for me," he whispered. "He never wanted me to worry. He believed I could do something great." Karen smiled warmly. "That's love," she said. "Sometimes, the biggest acts of kindness are the ones we don't see right away." That evening, Jamie sat by Richard's old photograph and made a promise. To honor the faith his stepfather had in him, to seize the opportunities he'd been given, and to one day give back in the same way. The secret of the insurance policy wasn't just about money. It was about hope, trust, and a future waiting to be built. News about the insurance policy and Jamie being the beneficiary spread quickly within the family once the will was read and the insurance agent confirmed the details. As expected, the reaction wasn't all positive. Jamie's biological mother, Lisa, was the first to confront him. "How could Richard do this without telling me? I'm his wife. I should have been the beneficiary," she accused bitterly during the tense family dinner. Jamie remained calm. "Mom, Richard loved all of us, but he wanted to make sure I was taken care of. This was his choice," he said gently, but Lisa wasn't the only one upset. Some of Richard's siblings also felt overlooked. They questioned why the stepfather had excluded them from the inheritance and were suspicious about Jamie's intentions. Rumors began to swirl and Jamie found himself at the center of a family storm he never expected. Whispers of greed, betrayal, and unfairness haunted him, making every family gathering uncomfortable. Karen stood by Jamie's side offering support and encouragement. "You didn't ask for this, Jamie, you just need to stay true to yourself," she told him. Despite the tension, Jamie decided to confront the situation head-on. He arranged a family meeting hoping to clear the air and remind everyone about Richard's love and the reason behind his decisions. At the meeting, Jamie spoke with honesty and respect. "Richard cared for all of us, but this policy was his way of ensuring I had a chance to build a better life. Let's honor his wishes without tearing each other apart." Slowly, some family members began to soften. They saw Jamie's sincerity and realized that Richard's choices came from a place of love, not division. Though the road ahead would still have challenges, Jamie felt hopeful. He understood that sometimes family isn't perfect, but it can grow stronger when faced with honesty and understanding. After the family meeting, the atmosphere began to change. Though some wounds were still raw, many family members started to accept Richard's decision and Jamie's new role. The tension gradually eased, allowing Jamie to focus on his future instead of the drama. Jamie knew the insurance money was a blessing, but he wanted to make it meaningful, not just a way to live comfortably but a chance to honor Richard's legacy. With Karen's encouragement, he began planning how to invest the money wisely. First, Jamie decided to pay off his student loans, which had weighed heavily on him for years. The financial burden had made him hesitate to pursue his dreams, but now he felt free to think bigger. He also wanted to start a small business, something that could provide a stable income and help the community. Jamie had always loved cooking, and he dreamed of opening a food truck that served affordable, healthy meals in their neighborhood. Karen helped him draft a business plan, research permits, and find suppliers. The process was exciting and daunting, but Jamie felt motivated as never before. Meanwhile, Jamie stayed connected with his father's friends and colleagues. They shared stories of Rich Ard's generosity and determination, reminding Jamie of the kind of man his stepfather had been. One evening, Jamie sat quietly with a framed photo of Richard, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "Thank you for believing in me," he whispered. Life was no longer about struggle and uncertainty. With this fresh start, Jamie could honor his stepfather's memory and build the future he had always dreamed of. His story was far from over. Months passed, and Jamie's life transformed in ways he never imagined. The food truck, named Richard's Roots, became a local favorite, celebrated not just for delicious meals but for its heart and community spirit. Jamie's vision of giving back was alive, and every satisfied customer reminded him of the legacy his stepfather left behind. More importantly, the once fractured family began to heal. Karen and Jamie's mother patched up old misunderstandings, and relatives started reaching out, forming bonds they hadn't nurtured before. Richard's decision to name Jamie the Beneficiary had been a catalyst for change, forcing everyone to confront their prejudices and regrets. Jamie often reflected on the irony, how his stepfather had quietly paid the insurance premium all these years, never asking for recognition, yet making sure Jamie would have a future. That secret act of love had reshaped their entire family's story. One afternoon, as Jamie closed the truck after a busy day, a familiar voice called out. It was his stepfather's closest friend, Mr. Thompson, who had helped Jamie through the legal and financial maze. "Richard always said you had a fire inside you," Mr. Thompson said with a smile. He was right. Jamie smiled back, feeling a deep sense of peace. He knew the road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but with the lessons learned and the legacy entrusted to him, he was ready. His stepfather's quiet generosity had given Jamie not only financial security but a new identity, one of hope, resilience, and family. The future was bright.